Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone joining round the globe to yet another exciting Data Archiver webinar. I'd like to thank each and every one of you joining from different industries and locations across the globe. First and foremost, welcome to Salesforce Big Object webinar series, a brilliant series for all the techies out there to adopt the next generation ways of archiving data into big objects to optimize performance and minimize cost. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Sandeep Chetri, and I'm the Customer Success Manager for Team Data Archiver. Data Archiver is committed to your success, and I help our customers make more insightful decisions in choosing the right storage solution available in AppExchange. Isn't that exciting? Sure it is. I'm joining with Harish Kumar, who is the co-founder and the chief architect for Team Data Archiver. Welcome, Harish.
Hi, Sandeep.
I'm also joining with Nanda Kumar, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Team Data Archiver. Welcome, Nanda.
Yeah, hi, Sandeep.
Thank you. Just before we get started, may I keep you informed that this is a 30 minutes webinar. We are recording it, and we shall send you the recording along with this fantastic presentation shortly. During this webinar, should you want to ask anything, please post your questions in the chat box. We'd be glad to answer all of them. All right, then, let's fasten our seatbelts and let's drive into the next generation way of archiving data. This webinar will revolve around topics like Salesforce data growth challenges. Over 150,000 companies, both big and small, are growing their business with Salesforce. Growing business means growing data, and growing data comes with its own challenges. Let's see what's bothering customers a lot. And then comes the savior of the hour, big objects, with its limitless storage capacity. Post this, we will talk about Data Archiver, the enabler, and the game changer. I will keep the suspense locked as of now. And finally, 2 use cases of Data Archiver. All right, so first things first, we like to talk real cases and real scenarios that help us connect ourselves with our common challenges. I have Harish with me who would like to share a use case, which I'm sure all of you will relate.
Thank you, Sandeep. Hi, guys, everybody. Welcome. If you see the learning objectives, I can go one by one on those areas, talking about part 1, part 2, and part 3. But since we have solution engineers and account executives on this webinar from Salesforce, I'd like to make it a little more interesting by walking through one of the customer challenge, and then see how big object really help them overcome those challenges. So I'll talk about one customer, which is a customer named Australia Post. They are a self-funded government business enterprise. Now today, currently they send around 3.3 billion items to around 11.9 million delivery points across Australia. And also they cater to 190 countries across the world. This is the scale of this company. And they have around 4,300 post offices in Australia, including 2,500 plus in rural and remote areas. Not only today they are into receiving and sending post, but they are also into different businesses called for insurance, prepaid card, etc. So looking at that business, you can imagine how extensively they are using Salesforce. So their Salesforce org is one of the extremely complex org that we have worked. And then if you ask one specific use case, their case object, itself had more than 800 plus fields. And additionally, they are talking about 100 plus different record types which they have to which they have configured. They not only generate data internally, but they also generate a lot of data from multiple sources. Their big chunk of data growth has been more on status tracking, cases, email messages, and stuff like that. Today, the current volume that they reach is 1 terabyte. That's how they scaled up. And today, if you see, they have a current challenge of 1 terabyte of data volume which they are currently utilizing. And they were posed with three challenges. Number one, they are having a huge data storage cost. Number two, because of this volume of data, they are currently having challenges with the application performance. And number three, they have to have this retention. They want to make sure that they are able to keep all this data for their audit and compliance thing. So these were the key challenges which this customer faced, and they wanted to see what best any solution can help, or what are the next level they can go and try to find out what best they can do with this kind of volume increase they're facing with the Salesforce, right? And then that's when they came across with Big Object. Now, Big Object is something which Salesforce introduced to any of the enterprise system. And if you see, for any enterprise customers, Big Object is given as a 1 million record, which they give it free for the enterprise customers. And then it can be scaled. It can be scaled to a level, we're not talking about 100,000 record, we're talking about millions and billions of data. That's the scale which Salesforce wanted to give all the enterprise customers, where they know that, in the coming future, this is a challenge where all enterprise customers would face, and how to solve that, how to have this, and Big Object is the answer for that. And that's where the Big Object comes into the picture, where scalability is not an issue. You can limitlessly scale up. And if you ask me how the performance, yes, you can. If you're talking about millions and billions of data, you can really work on those big data and then able to get those data back. And number two, which is very important, is it is cost effective. It is 1/10 of the price of the existing Salesforce database. And then that's where it also helps anybody to make sure that, hey, how can I leverage this Big Object to make sure that my business doesn't impact because of this data volume. And predominantly we always talk about Big Object because that is the future. That is the future which Salesforce want all the enterprise to go. Also, we tell a lot of customers, Big Object is the right solution when we're talking about the archiving needs. Because if you're scaling up and you wanted to have a lot of unwanted data, which is mostly when we talk to the customers, we see that 60 to 70% of the data that they keep in Salesforce ecosystem is unused. There might be closed cases, certain things which they don't use it, whether it's email messages in certain scenario. All those things really constitute more of the storage which they're using it. And that's where they wanted to make this data moved from this location to the Big Object, right? And on the top of it, Big Object has an opportunity to have analytics that can run on it. If you say analytics, that's the key part where every customer want to know, hey, I just don't want this data to reside in some location which I can't even access it. I want, if there is something which I can run on top of this humongous data to make some sense out of it, get some analytics on top of it, able to understand more about the customer, it helps them. Because if an enterprise understand that from the day the customer onboarded, they're able to get an entire 360-degree view of the customer. That is where they're going to have a very good benefit in increasing the customer base, increasing the business and stuff like that. So those are the things Big Object provides to any customer. And that is where Australia Post also were trying to see how they can leverage this and try to have this entire historical data move to this solution called Big Object. And Big Object has this potential to take this kind of big volumes and do that. And since Big Object is part of the Salesforce ecosystem, it always is seamless. But the key challenges which they had was, Big Object is big data, Salesforce is relational data. How they can merge it? They try different ways to see that is there a seamless integration that can happen within both the system. And currently there is a challenge. There is no so easy way where you can just have a Big Object plugged in and you can have all those things taken care. You need to have a understanding that how my data will look after it is kept in the data in this Big Object, how I can retrieve it back, how I can keep all those consistent hierarchy, all the structured data, how we can keep it. Those were the challenges which they stuck when they were trying to have Big Object part of it. And that's where they came up with Data Archiver. That's why our team met them and tried to see how Data Archiver can help this particular customer to solve their data challenges. And as a Data Archiver product, today we are a center point where it helps between Salesforce data storage and the Big Object. And what we did, our Data Archiver team is always extending and trying to help the customer is how it can be DIY, more like do it yourself. With just few clicks, you can configure one object. you can set which objects needs to be configured and move to data archiver, and set up some the methodology where I want to archive in this kind of retention policy. You set it up, and that's it. It automatically takes care of the rest. All the data, which is, you can configure what type of data you want to move it to the big object. Once you configure it one time, that's it. You can set it up, and then all the data which has been there in the Salesforce system can be easily moved to big object, and that entire thing happens in the backend to the product called data archiver. It takes care of all the relationship. It takes care of this complex relationship, complex issues that you have related to the way the object is being kept. All this is taken care in the backend. The only thing that you can just have to have a configuration done, and it is moved towards big object. And predominantly with the data archiver, you are saving 80% storage cost. It is 100% native storage solution, which means your data is always part of the Salesforce ecosystem. Australia Post, for example, this is the government customer, and they don't want data to be moved out of Salesforce ecosystem. And that's why we see a lot of customers want to make sure that they are using the Salesforce ecosystem, not having the data moved into multiple locations, having additional maintenance cost added to that. So this is 100% native storage. We are GDPR compliant. We have customers across Europe where the customers are using this solution. And also from the US perspective, we have this product for the US government cloud, which means we are government cloud certified as well. And as a Gartner listed, archiving is the future. Customers want archiving solution. Not only archiving is the key thing, it is all about how you are able to structurally keep the data and how you're able to restore it back. These are the key things which enterprise is looking forward, and that's what data archive is all about. Now, this product, once they used it helped Australia Post to solve all the three challenges which I initially mentioned. Saving costs, able to make sure that now they don't have to have a challenge of, hey, my volume is getting increased. They're able to review their objects on a day-to-day basis and able to see a setup process wherein they can concentrate more on the business and not on how much data it is happening. So this is one of the customer challenge which I talked about here. There is one more scenario wherein one of the customer wanted something more apart from data archive, and that's something which Sandeep, I'll appreciate if you can highlight more on that.
Sure, Harish. Wow, that was quite an interesting use case. I'm glad Data Archiver is resolving Australian Post challenges. Thank you. I'm now going to talk about a large private university in North America, which offers over 20 undergraduates and graduate degree programs online and locations nationwide. So let's talk about their path to success using Data Archiver. They use Salesforce heavily, and they wanted to archive data into AWS storage. Data Connectiva is an extension package on top of Data Archiver that helps you to archive data externally. With Data Connectiva, we were able to solve their archive needs by moving their data to Postgres database. They are now beyond Data Archiver, and that is through Data Connectiva. So through Data Connectiva, you can now archive any amount of data in any external storage and still enjoy all the features of Data Archiver seamlessly. You can see some of the different external storages on the screen that we support. With that said, I have a question for you, Harish. Are there any other features in Data Archiver that makes it absolutely power-packed?
Yes, it sure does. I would love to go a little more in depth on the features part of it, and I'd like to highlight few things which is some of the pain points which the customers still face once they talk about the archiving. Archiving is all about data. So the first challenge which they say that, hey, auto scheduler. This is something which we say that every customer has they understand how the business is growing. They know that, hey, in a week I am able to generate 1 million records, or this. Once they understand and they understand the business, they can use this auto scheduler to see whether I want to do it in a daily basis, or a weekly basis, or a bi-weekly, monthly. They can schedule those kind of archiving so that depending on those criteria, the data is moved from the storage from Salesforce to this big object. That's one. Some of the customers who are sensitive in terms of data, they use Shield for their data at rest encryption, and we also support encryption, which means anything that is kept in the big object, we can keep it encrypted. And that's something most of the sensitive enterprise customer would love to have, encryption at rest in even in the big object as well. So we support that. Another one feature which I like to highlight is the field audit tracking archiving. Generally there is a limitation from Salesforce that they don't keep after certain time all this field audit and tracking this, because it again adds up to the data volume, right? So with big object having this enormous space, you can have this entire field audit tracking moved to this archiving storage, wherein at any point of time, maybe like 2 years, 3 years down the line, you want to understand who did this changes on these fields, what was the changes happened on that again can be reviewed, monitored, tracked, through this reporting tool. One of the cool feature I like to highlight is auto metadata sync. Generally, after in a year, the business is changing. There will be objects that new fields that is going to get added. Some fields will be removed depending on the business needs. They want to customize it. They want to change certain things on the object level. And that's where we don't want customer to have a challenge in terms of archiving. Hey, now we have a challenge because that there is object changes that happen. With auto metadata sync, it also address in the backend this kind of issue as well. With this, we are able to understand what changes have happened to the object, able to automatically sync those metadata changes, and able to make sure that it is not impacting the archiving. We have API enablement, which means through this data archive API, customers have an additional choice whether they want to integrate with some custom solution which they build. They want to integrate something on any other solution which they wanted to see how they can use data archive archiving or restoring model. They can invoke it through process builder or through the trigger or any other opportunity they can have using these APIs, right? The key thing we talk about is data integrity. We make sure that whether it is a complex hierarchy of 2 child records or 5 child records or 10 child records within a certain object, we are mentioning that this kind of relationship is maintained. We're able to have this data when you're restoring it back, those same data integrity is maintained when you're having that. So you're able to reuse the data in a right way. And that is where the restore functionality is added, where we ensure that the data it was archived, it comes in the same format where you're able to make sense out of it. There were some customers who have challenges with file storage as well. File storage, in some cases get increased. They have the challenges where they're talking about invoices, cases, emails, attachments, which just comes in, and that also is shooting up the file storage. We also support file attachment as well on those things. And finally, just to give a highlight, we also support the data migration part of it. Data migration, where initially when the customer comes to us, it's always, hey, we have this current challenge of the volume, so how we handle it. That's where the first level of large data migration we talk about. We review it, we understand it, and see how we transition our customer. We handhold them from doing the entire migration from the Salesforce to this big object. That's what the data migration also is part of it. So our market segment, if you approach, it is always most of the enterprise customers, Fortune 500 companies who has been extensively using the Salesforce enterprise solution with a lot of data across complex systems, complex relationships. Those are our customers who have this pain point right now. And as a product, we are aligned with the Salesforce ecosystem, which means any of the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Padlet, or any App Exchange solutions that you have. We all are. We are not saying that we don't support that. We support everything as a technology. That's if you see very broader high level of what as a data archiver is. Now, Sandeep, you can just talk about how is our presence as a data archiver. Yeah, I'll pass on to Sandeep.
Sure. Thank you, Harish. That's something I call Power Pact. Making our customers happy means placing them and their needs at the center of everything we do. And therefore, I'm glad to present you this list of our existing customers. Data Archiver is helping firms from different industries ranging from government, healthcare, life science, manufacturing, education, consumer goods, financial services, retail and lifestyle, and many more. Some of our customers are the Australian Postal Corporation, which is operating as Australia Post, and it's a government-owned corporation that provides postal services in Australia. This was something Harish had covered earlier. Postmark is a leading social commerce marketplace to sell and buy apparels and accessories. iFood is another one. It's an online food delivery portal from Brazil. Al Capone is one of the world's leading cigar manufacturing companies. We have American Jewish World Service, often called as AJWS, which is a nonprofit, international development, and a human rights organization. Some of our customers are Ohio State University, which is the highest ranked public university in Ohio. We've got Clarins Group, trading as Clarins, and this is a French luxury skincare, cosmetics, and a perfume company. And we have CETO, which is an international marine assistance provider, which is headquartered in Southold, New York. So these are some of our customers that we have enlisted out here. We are globally positioned in India, the United States, and in New Zealand. While I just talk about our global presence and the list of the customers that we have, I'd like to give you a quick overview of some of our premier customers. Harish had covered about Australia Post, so I'm not going to talk about them. We have Intuit. Intuit is another customer who has their world presence in 9 countries. They are an American business and financial software company that develops and sells financial, accounting, and tax preparation softwares for small businesses to enterprise. As a financial customer, they also deal with highly complex data and they have about 100 objects with 30 plus level of relationships. Along with that, they also had 10 plus installed AppExchange solution, and you can imagine the amount of data and the complexities they must be dealing with. It is this when Data Archiver helped them solve all their data storage issues, and they are all set to achieve their next milestone. We also have Connecticut Department of Labor, which is a department committed to protecting and promoting the interests of Connecticut workers. And we can proudly say that they use Data Archiver, and Data Archiver is installed in their government cloud. Yes, you heard me right. Data Archiver is installed in their government cloud, thereby making Data Archiver the only government cloud-ready app in the entire AppExchange. Well, with that said, we are on the last segment of this webinar, and may I now ask my amazing audience to post any questions you may have around Data Archiver or anything that we just spoke. I think we just have a question, and that is, okay. I'm looking forward if I do have any questions. I have a question from Mitesh Sharma, and the question is the Big Object available as Salesforce Cloud feature, or it's a separate licensing, and what's the combo price for Data Archiver and Big Object? Mitesh, Big Object is available as Salesforce Cloud feature. It comes as a default, no matter whatever cloud CRM that you get as a part of the package. And I could talk about the licensing part and the combo price, for Data Archiver and Big Object. I will have someone from my team reach out to you to discuss about the combo price, because it's extremely variant. Thank you. I still have just another minute for a question, and it's from Mike Salem. The question is, will the Data Archiver team work with our system implementers to tweak the functionality at all if needed due to certain customer requirements? Yes, Mike, we are absolutely open for any amount of tweaks, and for this we'll have to first review. But on the whole, yes, we are open to work with your system implementers. Great. I think, just keeping time in mind, we can take one last question or one or two questions. Okay. I think that is done.
Okay, we'll yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. I did see your message. We are always, like I mentioned, we are open for a couple of specific tweaks, and I will get back to you right after this. Thank you. I think we are still open for one last questions. I mean, if anybody is interested, they could just ask any question, and we'd be glad to take one final question. All right. Looks like we'll have to proceed further. So thank you so much for all the great questions. We appreciate it. If you do have any further questions, please send it to us at contact@dataarchiver.com. That's our email address. All right, folks, this brings us to the end of this webinar. We hope it focused on data storage challenges and has unleashed Data Archiver's potential to solve it. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you for being such a lovely audience, and have a pleasant time ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks again for all your time.